The sun dipped low behind the quiet, tree-lined streets of Willow Heights, casting long golden shadows over manicured lawns and pristine driveways. It was the kind of neighborhood where silence was prized, where people waved politely but didn't always know their neighbors' names, where the wrong look could spark suspicion, and an unfamiliar face could send curtains twitching. And on that still afternoon, a young black man jogging down the sidewalk didn't look like he belonged, at least not to the eyes watching him from behind the tinted glass of a parked patrol car. Jaden Carter was just 18, a bright-eyed teen with a scholarship to a top university and dreams far bigger than his small hometown could ever contain. Dressed in a clean gray hoodie, earbuds tucked in, and pace steady, he wasn't out of place to anyone who knew him. But to Officer Daniels, who had been patrolling the neighborhood on a slow shift, Jaden was something else entirely, an anomaly in a space where difference often came with assumptions. The officer's car pulled out slowly from the curb, headlights flickering to life even though the sun still hung in the sky. Jaden felt the presence behind him before he saw it. He glanced over his shoulder, puzzled but not alarmed. Yet, the low hum of the engine grew louder as the patrol car crept up beside him, window rolling down with a mechanical groan. "Hey!" The voice was sharp, already suspicious. "What are you doing around here?" Jaden slowed, pulling one earbud out. He kept his tone calm. "Just jogging, sir. I live nearby." The officer's eyes narrowed. "You got ID on you?" Jaden reached for his pocket, careful and slow, the way his parents had taught him. But even before he could speak again, a second patrol car swung around the corner, tires crunching over gravel. Two more officers stepped out. One had his hand resting on his holster, the other already moving closer, scanning Jaden from head to toe like he was hiding something dangerous under his hoodie. "Is there a problem?" Jaden asked, trying to keep his voice steady. But no one answered. Instead, they started questioning him, where he lived, where he was going, who he knew in the neighborhood. Jaden answered every question, even though his heart was pounding. Now, even though the small crowd gathering across the street made him feel exposed, the tone in the air had changed. It wasn't about curiosity. It was about control. He tried again. "My uncle just moved into the house on Willow Creek Drive. I'm staying with him for the week. You can call..." "Step over here," one officer cut him off. "Keep your hands where I can see them." Jaden's stomach dropped. A jog had turned into a confrontation, and no one cared to listen. As the officers surrounded him, neighbors peered through windows, whispering. Phones came out. Someone was recording. But no one stepped in. Not yet. Just as things looked like they might spiral out of control, a car pulled up down the street. A tall woman in a navy business suit stepped out, her heels clicking sharply against the pavement. She looked furious. She didn't run, didn't shout. She walked straight up to the scene with the confidence of someone who knew authority. "Who's authority?" "Is there a reason," she said coolly, "that my nephew is being surrounded by police officers in front of my house?" All three officers turned. Daniels blinked, caught off guard. "Ma'am, we had a report." "No, you didn't," she said flatly. "Because I live here, and I assure you, no one reported anything." Jaden looked up, relief flooding through him. His aunt, Judge Marla Simmons, wasn't just any woman in the neighborhood. She was one of the most respected legal minds in the state, and she had seen everything. The officers stammered, tried to backpedal, but the damage was done, and as this moment unfolded in the upscale quiet of Willow Heights, far away in another corner of the city, a different story was beginning. On a crowded city bus, a pregnant white woman stood awkwardly near the front, one hand gripping the overhead rail, the other pressing gently against her belly. The bus was full, every seat taken. Eyes flicked toward her and away again. Some people shifted, pretending not to notice. Others looked at their phones. But no one moved. No one, except for Jaden. He stood up without hesitation and offered his seat with a quiet smile. "Here, ma'am, please." The woman looked surprised, a little startled even. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "Of course." She sat down slowly, catching her breath, offering a soft thank you. She glanced at him again, this young man with kind eyes and a quiet strength. Something about the gesture stayed with her. When she got off at her stop, just before the doors closed, she turned back and reached into her purse. She handed Jaden a small envelope. "Open it later," she said. "And thank you again, this amen." Doors slid shut. Jaden stared at the envelope in his hand, puzzled. He slipped it into his jacket pocket and didn't think much of it. Until later that night when he finally opened it. What was inside would change the course of his life forever. But right now, in Willow Heights, he was still trying to recover from being treated like a suspect for simply existing in the wrong place at the wrong time. His aunt was already on the phone, demanding answers from the police department. Neighbors were still murmuring, some embarrassed, some defensive. And Officer Daniels. He was starting to realize he had made a mistake he wouldn't be able to walk away from. Because Jaden wasn't just anybody. He was about to become the center of a story that would go far beyond that quiet street. And the woman on the bus? She had secrets of her own, connections, power. A history Jaden couldn't have guessed. But soon their paths would collide in a way no one could have predicted. And nothing would be the same again. To be continued, Jaden sat on the edge of his bed, the small envelope still open in his hand. The note inside was neatly folded, written in careful cursive, the kind you don't see often anymore. He stared at it for a while before reading it again, just to make sure he hadn't misunderstood. "If you're reading this, it means you were kind when others weren't. Thank you for that. My name is Margaret Whitmore. My husband and I have been searching for someone like you." That was all it said. No phone number, no explanation. Just that. And it didn't make sense. He turned the envelope over. Nothing. No return address. No hidden message. Jaden leaned back against the wall, the events of the day playing in his mind like a movie on repeat. From the quiet jog that turned into a humiliating police encounter, to the unexpected moment of kindness on the bus, and now, this strange, cryptic note. His phone buzzed. It was a message from his aunt. "Meeting with the police chief tomorrow morning. I'll handle it. Try to rest, Jay." But rest was impossible. Something about that note wouldn't leave him alone. Who was Margaret Whitmore? Why was her name familiar? Jaden pulled out his laptop and typed it into a search engine. Dozens of results came up. Articles, photos, speeches. Margaret Whitmore wasn't just anybody. She was one of the country's most influential philanthropists. Her late husband, Charles Whitmore, had been a billionaire investor with ties to tech, education, and politics. After his passing, Margaret had quietly continued his work, funneling money into scholarships, startup programs, and community reforms. She was known for being elusive, rarely in the spotlight but deeply connected behind the scenes. Jaden stared at the screen, heart pounding. Why would someone like her notice him? How could she have possibly known anything about him from a moment? As small as offering his seat? Down the hall, his aunt's voice drifted from the living room as she spoke on the phone. She was still handling the fallout from the neighborhood incident, demanding accountability, but Jaden wasn't listening. He was already somewhere else in his mind, tracing the pieces of a puzzle he didn't yet understand. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the woman on the bus, how calm she had been, how deliberate her words were, almost like she knew something, and the way she said, "Open it later." Not just as a thank you, but like it was part of something much bigger. By morning, the news had already started to pick up the police incident from Willow Heights. Someone's video had gone viral overnight, showing officers surrounding Jaden, questioning him like a criminal, only for his aunt to show up and completely change the tone. The video had over 2 million views by sunrise. Hashtags were trending. People were angry. Debates filled the comments, some defending the officers, others furious that a young black teen was still being treated like a threat in 2025. Jaden's name wasn't mentioned in the video, but it wouldn't be long before someone figured it out. His aunt was already dressed for her meeting with the chief, calm and focused like always. Before she left, she paused by his door. "You good?" Jaden nodded slowly. Yeah, just tired. You did nothing wrong, she said firmly. Remember that? He nodded again. But her words didn't take away the ache in his chest. Later that afternoon, a sleek black car pulled up outside their house. Jaden noticed it from the window. It didn't have any markings, but it wasn't a rideshare either. It sat there for a while, engine running. Then the back door opened. The same pregnant woman from the bus stepped out, except now she wasn't wearing the tired clothes of a commuter. She wore a tailored navy coat, pearl earrings, and held a small clutch. Her posture was poised. There was something regal about her. Jaden froze at the window. What was she doing here? She rang the bell. His aunt opened the door, surprised. Jaden stayed out of sight, listening. "Good afternoon," the woman said. "I'm Margaret Whitmore. I believe your nephew and I met yesterday." Jaden's heart dropped. "Come in," his aunt said carefully. He stepped into the living room as they entered. Margaret's eyes met his, soft but sharp. "Hello, Jaden." He swallowed hard. "Hi. I wanted to speak with you," she said. "Privately, if possible." His aunt gave Jaden a look. He nodded. "It's okay." They stepped into the study, a small room off the hall with old books and warm light. "I imagine you're confused," Margaret said, sitting carefully. That note, it was short, but it was intentional. Jaden nodded slowly. "I don't get it. Why me?" She looked at him closely as if searching for something beyond his face. "Because kindness is rare, especially when it's quiet. Most people only act when they know someone is watching. But you didn't know who I was. You didn't ask for anything. You simply gave." Jaden shifted in his seat. "I was just being decent." "That," she said gently, "is exactly why you were chosen." He blinked. "Chosen? For what?" Margaret reached into her coat and pulled out a thin folder. She placed it on the table between them. "My husband and I created something years ago. A foundation, but more than that. An initiative. We called it The Next Hand. The idea was simple. One act of genuine kindness could unlock opportunity for someone deserving, quietly, without attention." Jaden opened the folder. Inside were photos, documents, newspaper clippings, stories of young people who had received surprise mentorships, funding for school, job placements, all from anonymous sources. Until now, no one had known where it all came from. Margaret leaned closer. "You have the potential to change your future and others, but I won't force anything on you. This opportunity is yours to accept or walk away from. No strings, no tricks." Jaden stared at the papers, a lump forming in his throat. It didn't feel real. "Why tell me this now?" he asked. "Why not just help quietly, like you did before?" She paused. "Because your life just changed. That video, it's everywhere. People are going to know your name. They'll make judgments before they even meet you. I wanted you to hear the truth. From me, before the world painted its own version of you." Jaden felt a chill. She was right. Everything was moving faster than he could process. "But what if I'm not ready?" he asked softly. She smiled, not unkindly. "Then you take your time. But I'll be here, watching, waiting. And when you're ready, we begin." She stood slowly. "There's more to this story than you know, Jaden. Much more." And with that, she was gone, leaving behind the folder and more questions than answers. Outside, the news vans were starting to show up. Reporters looking for the boy in the viral video. Police statements were being drafted. Social media was ablaze. And Jaden Carter was standing at the center of something much larger than himself, something that had only just begun.